Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que...
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Summers, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Ready? Play. Ready? Play.
You join us here for the Seville ATP Challenger. Rock up a day to serve. What's he gonna serve up? Some tapas? A good first serve. Gives him a 40-love lead. This all-Spanish affair against Carballes Baena. Not known for his big serving, but that was decent. That was not. Let the tennis do the talking. 1-0 backhand clips the net. Bit fortunate there. Drop shot. Oh, you cannot teach that. You cannot teach that. Takes a 2-1 lead.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things.
Ready? Play.
Is number 2 in this group then, because number 1 is clearly Sinner. We've got Medvedev, Fritz, and the Minor. And I think this is actually very close. Of course, Daniil has these shoulder issues and the serve, the forehand, he's been impacted. Fritz, nothing since the US Open, but did well last time. The Minor, the only debutant in the field. But actually, form-wise, last few weeks after recovering from that hip issue, yeah, he's been okay. So I think all of them are actually at a pretty similar level. I think if memory serves right, me and Vansh kind of wanted to, just have a different peak, and not different from each other, but just not go like Sinner Medvedev straight up. And I think we both said Sinner Fritz on the draw reaction. But honestly, I think for me, there's no right or wrong here. Medvedev, Fritz, the Minor, they're all pretty close. Usually, I would say that Alex's ceiling is the lowest of these players. Yes, I just don't have that much confidence that right now this is the most important thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I actually think that I was doing the same thing but in the chat with Vansh, and I actually say Deminor to progress. I don't know. I think he can. I think he can trouble Fritz as a matchup. Fritz is actually the one who has a negative record against all the players in the group, but even that, I don't think it matters that much. It's close, I have to say. We've seen Deminor beating Medvedev on clay, which has, as much as clay is not Medvedev's face, it's maybe not where I was expecting him to surge and beat him, even if Alex did the great progress with his, of course, clay game, and we've seen also this year. So yeah, it feels like a close contest, and that's also why for me it's also important to see them. I mean, if the Turin court is as we have seen, in the past years, I think Deminor gonna have no issues in terms of the conditions. It's probably the conditions he prefers playing in. Fritz, of course, you mentioned the serve situation. I remember him was serving incredibly well in 22 when he played in Turin. And of course, Medvedev, it will be important to see how his serve is going to look. I mean, never looked really well this year, but I don't know, maybe the shoulder can do, I don't know, fine for these matches. As for what I've understood, it's kind of a consistent issue, but at times it's, less prominent. At times it's bothering him more. So yeah, for me, actually I had Deminor, I remember reading your tweet where it was kind of the power ranking. And I had another with only Deminor, which was above Ruud and Rublev. Then, of course, watching the groups, he goes down probably because, if he was in Rublev's group, I think he would have entered the match against Ruud as the favorite. But yeah, in this group, it's difficult for me, actually. But yeah, I have the feeling that this may not be Medvedev's time to get out of the group.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of also have the idea that probably it's just, we want to be a little bit more creative with the picks. Like, if I was going for the most likely, I would still probably say Sinner Medvedev, but I don't have that much confidence in Daniil at the moment yet.
Also because,
as you said,
this is the group where we can have a little bit of,
exactly. Yeah. So this is the one where we're looking for something. I still don't know your opinion about the John Newcomb group. I'm going to find out soon. But yes, that was my way of thinking as well, that like if we want to be creative about a pick, this is the group to do it rather than the second one. And yeah, I also don't have that much confidence in Daniil, which is why I put him in that tier list that you mentioned. I put him in the free category, which usually I would like to have him higher. I just can't really go higher with him at the moment. And yeah, really, that's it. So I put him right next to Fritz, which is also really like a good reflection of what I think about them in the groups here, even though that was done before the groups.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
ATP finals, we had a draw reaction to this already. I think it was me and Vansh. Now, Mario, we're dying to get some of your takes. I don't think we're gonna go super. I don't think we're gonna get super deep into every player. But of course, the Ilya Nastase group is Sinner, Medvedev, Fritz, and Deminor. I'm not even gonna ask you if you think that Sinner is gonna be out of this group stage. I think that's obvious. I'm going to ask you instead, how confident are you that he's going to go 3-0?
Quite confident, I'd say. But at the same time, Yeah, it will depend on a lot of things. Also, actually watching, how tomorrow all the players are going to look like in these conditions, and also, how they're going to play and the impression that they're gonna make on me. But yeah, talking right now, I should be expecting it. Last year he had the tougher group. The memories I have from him also from last year, and of course not only last year in Turin, but also the whole season. I mean, he is like 4-1 this year against Medvedev, beat Fritz in the US Open final, beat de Minaur in Rotterdam, and never lost to de Minaur in his career. When he lost to Fritz, he was actually 20. It was kind of another era ago. It will be probably a little bit surprising to see him losing a match, also considering how the matchup against Medvedev has turned around over the past 13-14 months. But yeah, if it will be 2-1, it will be a bit surprising. I don't know how much I'd say shocking. Probably would be shocking for me if he loses kind of, I don't know, tomorrow, because it's first match, of course, very important to, if he is going to lose a dead rubber, then maybe it would be, not as shocking as maybe a loss tomorrow, for example, in the opening match. So let's see. But yeah, I think I am expecting him to go 3-0.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting that too. I would say maybe if he is going to lose to somebody, who would that be, Mario?
I'd still probably go with Medvedev, because I just think that, if he's fit, of course, he's the one who feels like, having what it takes, to trouble Yannick. Fritz, I don't know what I watched at the US Open, probably still too much in my mind. And while of course Medvedev, I know that he's lost like 7 out of the last 8, but still, some of them have been very close. We know that something like that probably, can happen. So I'm still going with him. Probably Fritz and de Minaur, I'm expecting a little bit less. Maybe they will be able to trouble him in the match, but I still, struggle to see him not coming out as the winner from those 2 matches.
Yeah, I mean, for me, definitely, I kind of feel like Fritz, maybe even at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Because, 2022, he did okay at the finals. He doesn't miss that backhand against Djokovic, and maybe we have a match there. So I am thinking maybe he could wake up a bit. I mean, of course, he is here only on the basis of that US Open final, and that US Open final was depressing as hell. But in Turin, he might just, go into a more,
he's also
more
the
of
one
a serving contest.
Whose serve is looks better, compared to Medvedev and de Minaur. So yeah, probably that can be a factor in making, more difficult for Yannick to break. And then if, gets close, maybe Fritz wins the tie break and, I don't know, goes up a set. Yeah, that's also right. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to make upsets against players who are this good off the ground, you probably need to just get them in a bit of a serving battle, and yeah, maybe that is the chance.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
Is number 2 in this group then, because number 1 is clearly Sinner. We've got Medvedev, Fritz, and de Minaur. And I think this is actually very close. Of course, Daniil has these shoulder issues and the serve, the forehand, he's been impacted. Fritz, nothing since the US Open, but did well last time. De Minaur, the only debutant in the field. But actually, form-wise, last few weeks after recovering from that hip issue, yeah, he's been okay. So I think all of them are actually at a pretty similar level. I think if memory serves right, me and Vanch kind of wanted to, just have a different peak, and not different from each other, but just not go like Sinner Medvedev straight up. And I think
No.
we both said Sinner Fritz on the draw reaction. But honestly, I think for me, there's no right or wrong here. Medvedev, Fritz, the minor, they're all pretty close. Usually, I would say that, you know, Alex's ceiling is the lowest of these players. Yes, I just don't have that much confidence that right now this is the most important thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I actually think that I was doing the same thing but in the chat with Vansh, and I actually say Deminor to progress. I don't know. I think he can. I think he can trouble Fritz as a matchup. Fritz is actually the one who has a negative record against all the players in the group, but even that, I don't think it matters that much. It's close, I have to say. You know, we've seen Deminor beating Medvedev on clay, which has, you know, as much as clay is not Medvedev's face, you know, it's maybe not where I was expecting him to surge and beat him, even if Alex did the great progress with, you know, with his, of course, clay game, and we've seen also this year. So yeah, it feels like a close contest, and that's also why for me it's also important to see them. I mean, if the Turin court is as we have seen, you know, in the past years, I think Deminor gonna have no issues in terms of the conditions. You know, it's probably the conditions he prefers playing in. Fritz, of course, you mentioned the serve situation. I remember him was serving incredibly well in 22 when he played in Turin. And of course, Medvedev, it will be important to see how his serve is going to look. I mean, never looked really well this year, but I don't know, maybe the shoulder can do, I don't know, fine for these matches. As for what I've understood, you know, it's kind of a consistent issue, but at times it's, you know, less prominent. At times it's bothering him more. So yeah, for me, you know, actually I had Deminor, you know, I remember reading your tweet where it was kind of the power ranking. And I had another with only Deminor, which was above Ruud and Rublev. Then, of course, watching the groups, you know, he goes down probably because, you know, if he was in Rublev's group, I think he would have entered the match against Ruud as the favorite. But yeah, in this group, it's difficult for me, actually. But yeah, I have the feeling that this may not be Medvedev's time to get out of the group.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of also have the idea that probably it's just, you know, we want to be a little bit more creative with the picks. Like, if I was going for like the most likely, I would still probably say Sinner Medvedev, but I don't have that much confidence in Daniil at the moment yet.
Also because,
as you said,
this is the group where we can have a little bit of, you know,
exactly. Yeah. So this is the one where we're looking for something. You know, I still don't know your opinion about the John Newcomb group. I'm gonna find out soon. But yes, that was my way of thinking as well. That like, if we wanna be creative about the pick, this is the group to do it rather than the second one. And yeah, I also don't have that much confidence in Daniil, which is why I put him in that tier list that you mentioned. I put him in the free category, which usually I would like to have him higher. I just can't really go higher with him at the moment. And yeah, really, that's it. So I put him right next to Fritz, which is also really like a good reflection of what I think about them in the groups here, even though that was done before the groups.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
19 what?
19th of April, Stuttgart, quarterfinal day, Poland versus Great Britain.
May the best.
But I wonder
I'm
why
gonna play with the winner.
I wonder why the tennis players don't shake their hands before the match.
Only at the end, yeah. But will we be shaking hands in a few minutes? I don't know. So, should we just have a little practice?
Yeah.
Just a little practice? Oh, bloody hell. Oh, wow. Zelislav, you have to, it has to hit the table, okay?
Huh?
He's playing like the Olympics now.
Okay, let's play.
Let's play.
So two sets. Every set is 2-6.
Okay.
One service, so like in tennis.
And you have to win by 2 points?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
If it is 6-6, it's tiebreak.
Okay.
But now we start.
Okay.
It was just like for the entertainment.
Now we start.
So you start.
Ah, scheiße. So 1-1. Ah, scheiße. 2-1 to you. 2-1. There, go down.
Lucky guy.
2-2.
Oh,
The double fault.
2-2.
So double fault.
Ah, scheiße. This is the worst match since Vajchikova against Kudermetova. 3-3.
It's the game of mistakes.
3-3. 3-4. 3-5. 5-3.
Guys, really?
5-3.
No, it's very poor level.
6-3. My set.
Emma 6-3?
6-3 Emma, yeah. 1-0.
That's the table, no?
No.
Oh, the red two.
1-1. Oh, that's it.
Maria Cicak counts.
That was very lucky. 1-2. 1-2. Ah, 1-3. 3-1.
Nein.
1-4.
Ich weiß nicht.
Ready to the break.
You were not ready.
It's okay, 1-4.
Yeah?
Okay, you ready, Salazar?
Sorry, wir müssen hier nur ganz tief
Okay,
aufräumen.
kein
Das
Problem.
ist wichtig für den Stand.
Okay.
1-5. 5-1.
Nee?
5-1. 5-2. 2-5. Ah, you're set.
Nee, das glaube ich auch nicht.
So 1-4.
So going for the third.
Do we have a third set now?
Yeah.
For the third. Come on.
Ay, ay, ay. 1-1. 1-1. 2-1. 2-1 Zelislav.
Wow.
2-2. Ay, ay, ay. I can't get the serve right. 3-2. Alright, 3-3. 4-3.
Koncentracja, Żelek.
3-4. Ah, 4-4. It's close. 5-4. 4-5. Mine. 6-4.
You won.
Yeah.
But let's play one longer rally for the
Yeah, we
media.
could do one for the camera. For the camera.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Longer one. Let's try longer one.
Moonball. Ah, scheiße.
It was a good serve.
That was a good
Okay,
rally.
you won.
Nice one.
Congratulations.
Why don't you? I want to see you two play.
play.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Talking Tennis stream. You are joining me today for the first singles match of the ATP finals in Turin for 2024 between Taylor Fritz and Daniil Medvedev. It's just got underway with Fritz winning the first point on his server, but it should be a good one. I believe James will be joining me at some point later on, but for now you're stuck with me, and as Fritz serves to begin this singles campaign. This is the first match in the Nastase group. The groups are still split between the Nastase group and the Newcomb group. And yeah, so it should be a good one. As our screen shows there, they're actually only their second official meeting. Medvedev won their only previous in Cincinnati, so it's not too much to go off in terms of previous head-to-head, but it's interesting. This is obviously Fritz's second appearance at the finals. Last year he was just an alternate, but this year he's qualified outright after obviously winning not winning, but he reached the US Open final, didn't he? Whereas Medvedev is in his sixth consecutive, I believe. He won the title back in 2020 when the event was held in London, and he's made a decent start so far at 15-30, already making inroads on Fritz's serve. Yeah, but it's definitely set to be an interesting final tournament of the year. Well, at least final individual tournament on the main tour. Fritz is one at this point, or else he'll be facing 2 break points in the opening game, and that would not be the start he wants. Medvedev goes for the backhand. I think it just goes wide, so it's 30-all. I mean, who is everyone backing to win the title in Turin this year? Obviously, there's kind of a big favourite just based on form, based on, he's got the crowd behind him in Jannik Sinner. But will he be able to follow through on that promise? He was the finalist last year, but was beaten by Djokovic. Djokovic is obviously not here this year, pulled out due to ongoing injuries, and really it seemed to just bring an end to the season and have a rest. Nice forehand there from Fritz, and Medvedev cannot get it back, so it's 40-30. I mean, I was looking at their head-to-head prior to this match, and obviously he's got the one win on the official statistics, but Fritz has actually won 3 exhibition matches against Medvedev. But how much you can read into that is tricky to say. And obviously, with this event, the ATP Finals, it's not just about winner goes through to the next round. It's a round robin to begin with, so you've got to consider who's going to go through the top 2 from each group. I think for me, I've got to have Jannik Sinner winning the group. It's hard not to. And then in this group, you've got Fritz and de Minaur as the other 2, and Medvedev. I think I'd probably go Sinner and Medvedev just based off general form and their previous in this tournament. I mean, in fairness to Fritz, he did reach the semi-final in his only previous appearance. De Minaur, it's his first time at the finals. Well, whether he'll rise to that occasion or he might find it a bit too much is yet to be known, but he's played Sinner in the night match today. And then obviously you've got the other group with Alcaraz, Zverev, my mind's just gone blank, Rublev and Ruud. And I think Alcaraz and Zverev are definitely the 2 favourites to go through in that group. Ruud and Rublev haven't particularly come into this tournament in great form. Kind of stumbled into qualification, particularly Ruud. But then you've got in these 2, both Medvedev and Fritz lost their first match in Paris. Medvedev lost to Popperin and Fritz lost to Draper, so not the worst losses in the world, but it's definitely worth considering. And there's a double fault there from Medvedev to make it 15-all. Fritz did get that opening hold. there's also the sort of the added aspect for Medvedev of having never won the same title twice. He's won 20 or 21 titles, I always forget, but around that number, and he's never won the same title twice. And he's also not won a single title this year, which is interesting considering he's pretty comfortably qualified for the finals, but hasn't won a title of his own. But he's currently in a vulnerable position like Fritz was at 1530. We're back at 30 all. Obviously, in Paris, there's a lot of talks about the quick conditions. Alcaraz particularly struggled with it, and I think everyone says Turin is meant to be fast as well. Alcaraz, well, I think Juan Carlos Ferrero actually installed a similar surface for Alcaraz to practice on prior to this event. And it'll be interesting to see if that helps him. There's an ace there for Medvedev, his second. And now he has game point to level things up. Backhand from Medvedev cross court, returned from Fritz. Continuing the backhand rally cross court. Medvedev gets the game as Fritz goes long. So we're at one apiece. Yeah, just the 20 titles for Medvedev, but none coming in 2024. It'd be very Medvedev to not do it and then win his first title of the year at the last event. But then he's never won the same title twice. I suppose the caveat to that would be that he won it in London, the ATP finals, when it was previously held in London. This would be in Turin, so he'd still have it in a different city. But it does feel as though Medvedev's kind of got in the shadow of a lot of his rivals this year. He obviously reached the Australian Open final with 2 sets up, but Sinner has beaten him on multiple occasions this year. They'll play again in this group. He's beaten by Alcaraz several times as well. Thirty love for Fritz. Positive start to this game. So the WTA finals came to a conclusion yesterday with Coco Gauff winning the title. Came from a breakdown in both the second and third set to win the biggest title of her career since the US Open. The forehand there for Fritz. Medvedev gets it, but Fritz puts the follow-up away, and that is a really easy hold for him. Love hold. Much more comfortable and straightforward, and we're at 2-1. Yeah, it's definitely got an interesting feel to it, even though it's the opening group, and it obviously you can't think about all the permutations. If you kind of look to the future, you've got to assume Sinner wins all of his matches. You've got to assume he definitely beat Medvedev, given their previous head-to-head. And yeah, so it feels as though this match is big for both Medvedev and Fritz to kind of get themselves in a good chance of getting at least the second spot in this group. I saw parts of the WTA finals match, and yeah, it was a good match, but I think I definitely thought Zhang was going to win it from 3-love up in that second set, but Gauff just kept fighting. I will be joined by John in the near future, hopefully, and then James a little bit later. You've got, obviously, because it's the big event, they like to have all the things out. They've got a DJ on show at the moment, which is not what you get all tournaments, but Turin have employed a DJ and he seems to be having a great time. It's a pretty quick game so far, which kind of backs up the serve has been quick. There's been 3 aces, 2 from Medvedev, 1 from Fritz. Big serve from Medvedev. Fritz does get it back, but Medvedev's at the net, which he's not known for. But he does come away with a point as Fritz goes long with the lob. I mean, yeah, Medvedev did not look comfortable on the net at all there, but he did do enough to force Fritz to hit the ball long. Backhand there does go long from Medvedev, and we're at 15 all. Doesn't look quite settled just yet. But it's still very, very early days, and both players have held their game so far. Cross-court rally here. Medvedev goes down the line. Fritz goes with the forehand, but goes long. And he's annoyed with himself there. Perhaps rightly so. It didn't feel like a particularly difficult shot for sort of his caliber, but he didn't quite catch it right, and it did drop beneath the baseline. Well, there's a double fault there from Medvedev, his second of the match already. He has hit 2 aces, but they've been cancelled out by those 2 double faults. So we're at 30 all. Hello, Thriller from Manila. If you have not subscribed already, then could you please do so? But for all I know, you may as well have already. But nice to see you in the chat. Oh, and Medvedev coming to the net again, which is rare, but he does come away with a point with Fritz's shot coming off the net corner going into the tram lines. Yeah, it looked like it was going to whip into the court, but the net cord sent it completely off cue, and Medvedev has a game point. And now it takes the game with Fritz's return going long, so we're at 2 all. Nothing to separate the players so far. I would imagine with a lot of these big servers and all these fast courts, you're going to expect definitely a few tie breaks. Particularly the first sets, I would imagine. But Fritz does go into the net with a forehand there, so Medvedev gets the first point of this Fritz service game. Quite far wide there on the first serve from Fritz. He's on the second serve now. Does go in, Medvedev returns it. cross-court backhand rally now. Now more towards the centre. Down the line from Medvedev. Fritz goes over the forehand. Big forehand from Fritz, but Medvedev keeps the rally going. Side to side, they're moving. Oh, nice down the line from Fritz, but Medvedev recovers it again. Real scrambling effort from Medvedev here, as we've seen him do so many times. It's a really long rally here. And Medvedev goes long. He was scrambling and scrambling, but Fritz held strong, good, stayed patient. And he's got 15 all. That's probably a big point for Fritz to win as well, because had he lost it, it would have been love 30. A 26 shot rally there. Big from Fritz to win that. Particularly as that's where Medvedev gets so many people, as he's known for scrambling the ball back and winning those long points, but it was Fritz who got the job done. Down the line for a serve from Medvedev. Oh, that's a beautiful backhand from Fritz. It was a really, really good return from Medvedev. But Fritz just said, you could do, I could do better. That was a fantastic backhand from Fritz. Catching right on the line. Now he moves 40-15 with another ace. Just shows the margins. I mean, that 26 shot rally, Fritz won, and then that lovely second shot. That's a nice forehand there from Fritz. That's a big, big hold. I know it looks comfortable for 40-15, but there's points there which could have gone either way. And Fritz has played them really well, really, really well. And he's kept himself ahead of the scoreboard at 3-2, still on serve in this first set. I've been impressed from Fritz so far. As I previously said, he's second.
I can even come on as I'm walking the streets of Bonn. Look at that.
There you go.
If I get mugged, it'll be a live mugging on air, which will be, it'll give a silver lining to the obvious cloud.
Well, there's good evidence as well on video.
Yeah, although you would just see sort of my face just sort of suddenly disappear, and then maybe here you might not really see the mugger themselves, but unless they sort of come on and give a wave, which reminds me of a clip from Seinfeld once when I think his car was stolen, and they decide to ring the car phone. Obviously back in the sort of 90s, you'd often have a sort of phone fixed in, and they called up, and the thief answered the phone, and it was quite a comical conversation. It's like, give me my car back. No. Anyway, slight tangent there. I'll disappear and I'll be back in about 60 seconds or so, maybe 90 seconds.
Okay, cool. Yeah, John will be joining us in a minute, and he'll be giving his insights, just general insights to your questions in the chat, and just this match as a whole. And then I'm set to be joined by James as well a bit later on. Yeah, Medvedev's got to respond now. Fritz with a good hold there. Some lovely shots. Medvedev's got to keep himself in this match on serve, or at least in this first set. That's a good start. And a return serve there from the fourth seed. But that second serve kind of gets what it deserves, and Fritz slaps it down into the court. Medvedev cannot respond to that power. Hello, Dave, in the chat. Nice to see you again. 15-all in this game. Even though it is on serve so far, it does feel as though Medvedev is more under pressure. It's a great serve from Medvedev though. But the point continues. A drop shot from Medvedev, really nice drop shot. Fritz does get to it, but I gets a racket on it, but it does go into the tram lines and it's 30-15. Nice bit of variety there from Medvedev. And he does seem to be mixing up. He seems to have approached the net a bit more today than usual. Doesn't always look comfortable, but it has worked. You have a second serve here. Oh, and that is another double fault. This is his third double fault. He's hit a double fault in every game in this match so far, Medvedev. It's just, it's losing a guaranteed point, a really cheap point every game. And you've got to think with a player like Fritz on the other side of the net, it's going to cost you at some point, 30-all. Bit more of a lengthy exchange here. Medvedev going for the backhand there. Fritz scrambling, gets it. He goes down the same for the backhand. Oh, and he goes for the drop shot again. Really nice drop shot. Fritz gets to it, but it goes into the net. Medvedev really keen on using that drop shot today. And to be fair, it has been working. But he doesn't want to get too predictable with it. But he has got another game point. That's a really strong return from Fritz. Another forehand. And Medvedev is really struggling, and it goes wide. So it's a deuce, the first deuce game of this match. Medvedev under a bit of pressure now. Can he hold strong and keep this first set on serve? Really going cross court here, really wide from Fritz, and eventually it does go too wide into the tram lines. He was almost hitting it like horizontal, and eventually the angle became too much. Will Medvedev be able to hold here? Advantage. Second serve. He has here. Oh no, it is another double fault. His fourth double fault of this match. That's 4 double faults in 3 games, 2 in this particular game. And we are back to deuce. And that's going to be something that's going to really start to frustrate him, I'd imagine. He's gifted away too many cheap points. It must be even more frustrating when he can hit a good serve like that, but the point is still going on. Fritz did get the return in, and we're into a rally exchange now. Going cross court. Fritz hits the forehand. Medvedev goes down the line. Now cross court again. Lovely backhand from Medvedev. And goes for the drop shot again. It's on the line. But Fritz gets to it. Oh, it's a great shot from Medvedev. Really passes Fritz. Fritz is crouching down, and John is back in the stream, but thankfully not been bugged.
John is on the stream. Some people might have heard, but sadly it's John Silk for now. We'll see if we get Isner on one day. I'm just watching the end of that point, so I'm about 20 seconds behind you, but no big deal. Yeah, I see Taylor Fritz already crouching down. These service issues that we're seeing today, double faults in particular, it's just something that it was maybe there a little bit 2 to 3 years ago. We think of Medvedev and his pomp, and I'm thinking
latter part of the year 2019 or summer 2019 North American swing. I'm thinking obviously 2021, sort of again similar part of the year, winning the US Open and doing well in the indoor season before making the Australian Open final of 2022. But since that Australian Open final, we've seen we saw a brief renaissance, or a brief we've seen spells. A couple of weeks here, a week there. We had the Medvedev obviously thing in Rome last year, making the US Open final of 2023. But that feels like now a bit of an outlier compared to the rest of the last sort of 18 months. I know he made Indian Wells finals back to back, but probably avoiding Sinner and Carlos until the final helped, if you like. I mean, obviously he didn't play Sinner in either of those two events, but that's because those two were on a collision course in the semis. And also he gets dismantled by Carlos in the final. So yeah, it's one of the reasons why I've gone for Fritz today. Not that I'm full of confidence in Fritz. I do think he's a bit better this year compared to last year. It's a lovely point there for Medi to make it 15-all. But yeah, I don't want to sound too gloomy on Medvedev because, he could well make the semis, which I think would that be par, or would that even be a slightly good tournament for him right now?
I suppose based on seeding, it's par, and I think the thing is he doesn't have to beat Sinner to do that. He just has to beat Fritz and de Minaur.
This is yeah, exactly. I'm not ruling. By the way, I'm not ruling de Minaur out of this. I think the three of them, any of the three, could qualify. Yeah. But this sort of feels like a mini shootout today.
Yeah, it does. It's a weird one because you try not to think about the permutations until like the second or third match, but really you've got to be thinking about it from the start. And Medvedev and Fritz have to know that this is their big chances because Sinner is by far the favourite.
Yeah, Medvedev has had some issues with de Minaur in the past. Yeah. I'm not sure. Is it Fritz that's barely played de Minaur? There was a few head-to-heads I was looking at, and some are like 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think which ones they are. But the other reason why I sort of probably do put de Minaur as the slight outsider, despite the fact that these three are fairly close in many different ways, is I also think de Minaur's record against Sinner is even more brutal than Medvedev's, for example, which if you look at the last 14 months feels a bit brutal, but obviously at least Medvedev did have those, 6 wins, I think it was, in a row before Sinner turned the tables. And Fritz and Sinner have not played that often. I think it's 2-1 that head-to-head, if I'm right.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I was actually surprised that Fritz and Medvedev was just the one match because...
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It feels like a match that happens all the time, but obviously it doesn't. It just seems like it does.
I mean, it's certainly a match that should happen, but even Sinner Fritz just 3 times. I mean, bearing in mind that Medvedev and Sinner have played 14 times, you would have thought that Fritz, who certainly in the last 2 years, his and Medvedev's CVs probably look quite similar. In the last 2 years, I would say. Medvedev with a couple of slam final losses, I guess, so slightly better than maybe Fritz's, but still, that's unusual that these two have only played 3 times. But as a result, maybe Fritz can surprise us. But anyway, he's at juice right now on his serve. I will come to that John Wertheim question, but I'll probably do it during the break.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
It's a hot potato, yeah.
Yeah. Well played there from Fritz. Nice forehand to get it to advantage. Yeah, I don't think anyone was particularly pleased to see Medvedev and Sinner in the same group.
No, maybe not. The problem is, if we had sort of 4 big favourites, if you like, then it might be kind of okay. Or if we had maybe even 2. But when you've got 3, of course, well, I guess when you got 3 is better than 2, because at least then you're going to have, like, everyone is really, I think, very excited to see how Alcaraz and Zverev works out. By the way, we may well see a situation where Zverev beats Alcaraz, and then, of course, they meet each other later on in the group, and Alcaraz gains his revenge, all the other way around. Listen, I'm going to get to that John Wertheim question right now. And, of course, what first of all, before I even sort of address it, you've got potentially 3 answers to this, and whichever one you give, if you give the answer of let's say you defend John Wertheim and just sort of
explain that it's a mistake and no big deal and we move on, then you upset half the population who obviously take a very different view. If you castigate him and say that he should never be on TV again, by the way, just want to explain that he made some comments about Barbora Krejcikova when he thought he was off air. I'm probably going to find those right now. And of course, the third position, which is actually my position, is a little bit of both. But then what you do is you upset everyone, because people on one side think I shouldn't be castigating him, and on the other side they think that I should be banishing him from tennis history. Let's find. I'll start with his response, because that's how I read it. I read his response first, or his, when I say response, his Twitter apology, which I'm about to share on the screen. But because I saw that first, then I saw what Krejcikova had to say. So here's his response during a tennis channel studio show on Friday. I made some deeply regrettable remarks off air. I acknowledge them. I apologize for them. I've reached out immediately and apologized to the player in question. It is Barbora Krejcikova, by the way, and she has also addressed it on social media. In fact, she did so before John did, but let's not castigate him for that. Think about time zones and waking up and everything else. What happened? I joined the show by Zoom. In rehearsal, we were shown a graphic of a player who had just competed. It showed her an angle that exaggerated her forehead. A few moments later, I was told to frame up my Zoom. I looked at the low camera angle and joked that it made my forehead resemble the photo of the player in question. Someone in the control room chimed in and we bantered back and forth. This was a private rehearsal. This exchange inadvertently and without context made it to live air. I realize I am not the victim here. I think this is probably a very important addition, because otherwise at this point we're probably a little bit concerned at the lack of contrition. But he does say, I realize I am not the victim here. It was neither professional nor charitable nor reflective of the person I strive to be. I am accountable. I own this and I'm sorry. Barbora Krejcikova, who had tweeted a few hours before. By the way, if we get a crazy moment in the match, we will return to it. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, if there's a break point in particular. But I do want to sort of address this, because one or two people were asking in the live chat. And Barbora as well, she took to Twitter earlier in the day saying, you might have heard about the recent comments made on Tennis Channel during the WTA finals that focused on my appearance. As an athlete who has dedicated herself to this sport, it was disappointing to see this type of unprofessional commentary. This isn't the first time something like this is happening in sports. I've often chosen not to speak up, but I believe it's time to address the need for respect and professionalism in sports media. These moments distract from the true essence of sport and dedication all athletes bring to the field. I love tennis deeply, and I want to see it represented in a way that honors the commitment we make to compete at this level. So, yeah, that's where we are. I would say, as I said, sort of briefly, I sort of see a bit of both, in that I personally don't think John Wertheim should be, banished from tennis history and barred from the channel. I think one of my first thoughts as well is that we all need to take care with this. And in a way, nowadays, we are kind of, as media people, we are in the spotlight, even for the 30 minutes before we go on air, from the minute we walk into that newsroom, if you like, or the minute in an online space where we're having these before studio chats. Should he have said what he did? Of course he shouldn't. Was it a huge error? Absolutely. Should we bear it in mind? Yeah, maybe. I'm not a big fan of the Tennis Channel for various reasons, but yeah, and of course it's your right and your choice to perhaps try and at least seek media elsewhere. Now, of course, it's not always possible, because you want to watch tennis and sometimes they have exclusive rights. I get that. That's how I see it. I don't know. Maybe, some people will be like, oh, John, why aren't you coming down harder on John? I think he's very, very foolish for what he said. But I don't think it's, there's far bigger crimes, let's say, committed by people working in the media than this, who continue to work in the media. So I think for an error, and it was an error, I think we recognize it. Especially if Barbora, and I suspect she is, that she will accept the apology and we move on. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of agree with pretty much everything you just said. I think he's mostly sorry that it got found out. He probably wasn't expecting it to be found out. But at
But
the same
listen,
time,
what we just quickly, sorry, Matt, to interrupt. There might be a few things that, let's just say this escalates, and there might be some members of staff at the tennis channel or whatever. This might not end here. We'll see. But go on, Matt. Sorry.
yeah. I think obviously what he said was completely wrong. I kind of agree that it's not a sackable offence, and I think it's good that he's taken some accountability. But I think, like Krajcikova said, it's not a one-off instance, not necessarily from him, but just from people generally in the industry. And I think people just need to be mindful and even before you're on air, just kind of be professional about things. And at the end of the day, you're talking about tennis and not someone's appearance. Is how I'd go down on it.
And of course, he will have colleagues, and I probably, maybe I shouldn't guess this, but the person who he was bantering with was not a female as well. And maybe as well, we are sort of, whether we like it or not, we are always being judged. I do vaguely remember this John Inverdale thing, Sean, that you're highlighting. But we are also here as well, and we're on social media, and we're seeing how these players look before the ATP and WTA finals, and we are commenting on their looks in the build-up to that tournament, those tournaments. I was thinking that perhaps some of the fascination that people were having on social media, I say people, a lot of them not media people, just randomers, with how the players were presented both before the WTA finals and the ATP finals, I did find it a bit much as well, which, by the way, it was all, positive about how amazing they look. But I was like, I just want to get on with the tennis, really. So that's my point. We've missed a couple of games, but there were no break points. Two fairly, maybe. I don't know one specific example of Andy Roddick, but like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if there might be a little bit more to come. Of course, we've had some super high profile, and by the way, much worse situations on TV in the UK over the last decade or so. But when the little thing sort of comes out, then a couple of other things come out, and a few more come out, and then there's a few ex-staffers that have some comments to make as well. So we'll see. It may well be just a one-off, and then I do believe personally that if I was making the decision, I would be fine with, if John wanted to come on this show and say something, whether it be about tennis or initially an apology and then just move on, that I'll be okay with that. As I say, there's people that are working in tennis right at the top to much further down, and in the media who have said and even done far worse things. So, and yet we sort of very quickly move on there. There may also be a witch hunt going, and I'm not going to join that witch hunt. I almost feel as though the issue, at least for now, is done. That's how I see it. But okay, tennis. I went for Fritz pre-match. I didn't hear your pre-match thoughts or as the match began, Matt. Here's James, by the way. Did you have a particular player that you were siding with before the match began?
I mean, I think probably Medvedev, just due to his previous experience this tournament. But
lovely drop shot there, by the way, which is something you highlighted. James,
Medvedev's,
whenever you want, just join.
Yeah, Medvedev's really used that drop shot well today.
Yeah.
But I actually think Fritz has probably been the better player so far.
Doing good. Yeah. You think Fritz has sort of threatened a bit more. I was sort of more scoreboard watching than tennis watching the first 5 games. Sorry, James, go on.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yep, can now, yeah. Got a pretty crucial...
I've got a new laptop, so I'm just making sure.
Okay, no worries. Got a bit of a crucial moment here, Matt, because we are a little bit of danger for Medi.
5th double fault.
Here we are, set point.
Indeed.
All double, second serve. A double fault. He get his G's. Fritz has then got the first set, 6-4.
I mean, it's almost as if this is not, honestly, it's not a criticism. It's going to sound like one, but it's almost like he knows it, and it's not. He's just annoyed, and I get it. I get it. You're annoyed, but you're annoyed, and that anger, if you like, with yourself, is kind of getting in the way of potentially doing something. That may also be related to this ongoing shoulder issue that has been mentioned quite a bit over the last sort of 12 months or so. I don't know. I just feel as though it's and I don't blame him, because I feel for him. But you see those 2-second serves, they were not a guy who's going, I'm going to make sure I get this in and hopefully have a normal point. Fritz is not the best returner in the world. Let's be fair. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I've just seen.
No,
see what I mean? Those 2 seconds. I've just seen the angry response of the racket smash, which was, by the way, just done in one hit. By the way, it was pretty impressive. The German commentator who they're now showing is actually laughing. I don't know if he's laughing at that because he's actually on the practice court. But yeah, Matt, do you want to respond to anything I just said?
Yeah, I agree that particularly on the set point, that second serve was not a safety serve. It was very like almost just whatever kind of, I'm going to serve and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then his response after is, well, understandable, I suppose. 7 double faults in that first set. It's just cost you so many cheap points, and Fritz has obviously got the reward out of that, out of the first set.
Yeah, James?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a lot of what you just covered kind of rings true. It's he's that second serve is just completely fallen apart.
Yeah,
remarkably fallen apart. And as you say, linked to the shoulder, probably linked also to the form that he's been in certainly this year. That against these big players in these big matches, he's come out the worst 9 times out of 10 this year, and that's probably playing a factor into why he's. Well, it certainly seems in the second serves that he's going for it more than you normally would on the second serve, because he's so afraid of what Taylor's going to do on the return. Even though we know Taylor's not a great returner, but he's still he's a good returner, not a great returner. But he knows that he will still get attacked on it, and that fear is obviously leading into him trying to do 2 first serves as a second serve, and hey presto, double fault galore.
Couple of things in the chat I can respond to. The problem with this, Dave, is I think if it was that simple, I think it's quite an easy thing to just take a couple of months off. There's various parts of the season. In fact, for Medvedev, probably post Miami would be a great time if that was the case. And obviously right now as well. If that was just the case of giving it 1 to 2 months and then just let things heal. But I think it's a bit more, I don't know. I mean, I'm someone as well who's had occasional issues that are chronic rather than, so rest doesn't make any difference. I mean, sometimes we saw it with people, and by the way, my issue has been plantar fasciitis, which almost doesn't matter what I do. If I don't do any exercise for a month, it's still there. Sometimes I still wake up with the same issue. And there's a few tennis players that have had the same issue, and other issues with feet, for example. And yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's not as simple as that. I'm sure it's not even as simple as having an operation, because otherwise they would do it, especially Medvedev. He's still got many more years to come. And sometimes playing on, I think actually, or at least continuing some physical activity is actually, believe it or not, beneficial. Do I think in German or Spanish? Yeah, maybe if I don't know, sometimes I find myself talking to myself in my head in one of those languages, and I sort of catch myself. But largely, no, I do still, of course, think in English. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to let you be.
I think you're showing up a bit there, John, with you saying that you can think in your head in a different language. That's
it's because there's a question in the live chat. I wouldn't. I wouldn't normally just randomly say it. I wouldn't normally randomly say it. I do have some insoles, and they are custom made. But you're also not incorrect in that. It was probably a long time ago. I think it was like 3 years ago I got these custom insoles, so I probably need to get some more. But yeah, guys, I'll be your producer throughout the rest of the match. So speak to you soon.
Speak to you in a bit.
See you, John. Right. Oh, and that's a breakpoint save there for Fritz. He was a breakpoint down, but Medvedev just hits a backhand into the net.
Yeah, I think.
Will continue.
Yeah, I think you're slightly ahead of me. So if you kind of lead it, and I'll add my little insights.
Cool. I've kind of learned when they said it was you, Matt, who I was going on with. I was like, I need to be on my iPad because I need to be ahead because you tend to have this sort of brilliant stream that's always in front of me. Did you say you went for Medvedev at the to win this match?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I just sort of probably more off his ATP Finals record. Obviously, he's a former champion, but to be fair, given his recent form, maybe I shouldn't have gone with that. But yeah, it's pretty more.
No, I mean, I've gone quite.
Go on.
Anything else? Yeah, no, he's. I mean, he's because he got semi-finals last year, champion 2020. Always had good deep runs. I mean, I can't remember the last time he didn't get out the group. But I made a bold prediction. I don't think he's. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win a match in the group stages this year.
It's definitely possible because he doesn't have a good record.
I mean,
he struggled against de Minaur as well.
Yeah. Oh, he's really going for it against Fritz at this point. Fritz is doing all he can to sustain his rally at the moment. Going on, backhand to backhand exchanges. Backhand by Medvedev, forehand across court by Fritz. Forehand down the line by Medvedev. Cross court by Fritz, just goes over. Just about scrambled it by Medvedev. Fritz goes cross court and holds. And holds. What a rally to hold and not get broken. I'm guessing at this stage here with Fritz, we've got a classic dip in momentum that you get. Oh, shoot. Kind of broke off a bit there. You've got this sort of classic dip in momentum almost that you get at the start of the second set after you just got you just broken your opponent to win the first set. But yeah, it's absolutely going for it at the moment for Fritz. I mean, I think he certainly senses an opportunity given how just given the good form that Fritz has been in, certainly the second half of this year.
Yeah, I think it'd be big for him to come out of this game with a hold, save and break points because of the pressures. Straight back on Medvedev's serve, which has caused him so many issues so far today. And just to point out, our producer in the chat has pointed out that 2 years ago, Medvedev lost all 3 of his matches in a third set tiebreak, and that does now ring bells in my head. But
he
stood fairly well.
Well, this is another intense rally from both of them. Oh, but out from Medvedev on a standard backhand down the line. So, advantage Fritz here, just to keep his nose in front. I mean, if Fritz could, I know it's early days to say this, given the fact he's the lower ranked seed, but a straight sets win here would do wonders for his chances to get through to the semi-finals.
Yeah, and it'd be very damaging for Medvedev as well because we saw, for example, with Iga Swiatek, she won 2 matches in her group, but because she lost in straight sets to Goff, it cost her in the end. And that's what the difference, all the different little permutations can have.
It's amazing how just bank yourself a straight sets victory earlier on, and you really set yourself up well for the rest of the group stages, and it really damages your opponent, who then has to win very well in the next 2 matches, or hope that you're the player that's going to win all 3 of your group stage matches. It's amazing how you can then become beholden to the person who beat you. It's almost like a weird form of an abusive relationship in a way. Like you get beaten by the guy, and then you really want him to do quite well.
And if you lose your first match in straight sets, then know that you've got to beat Jannik Sinner. That's a real uphill task, especially with Medvedev.
In theory, this you're a Medvedev, a Fritz, or a de Minaur. You look at this match, you look at those matches with each other as the key matches in this actual competition. The one against Sinner is just a free hit.
Yeah, I always think you'd rather either like de Minaur's you'd rather play him first and get it out of the way, or play it last. So then you've got the first 2 matches where you've got to win. Obviously, I don't know how it's going to work out in terms of who plays who next, because it'll probably depend on today.
Yeah, so that what will happen is on Tuesday, I believe what will happen in the morning, or the afternoon session, it will be the loser of the both losers from today will play each other, and then in the evening it'll be both winners will play each other. I think they do it like that to make sure that they go into the final day with some degree of jeopardy still on the cards.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually. I've just seen the first point of this first game of Medvedev serving the second set, and that's a poor miss from Fritz on the backhand. He had a chance there.
Yeah, his levels just dropped a bit. I mean, understandable given the intensity of the back end of that first set.
Yeah, and Medvedev will just be trying to not hit a double fault, which I don't think he's managed so far in a game.
Then on my screen, he's just hit a forehand long. Super Dave saying round robin tennis is a bit goofy and all the maths required at times. I certainly agree with you there. You get connotations where you're like, well, hang on a minute, this player won 2 matches, yet isn't through. Yet this player won 2, but then they're through. But then this player may have won 1 match and still got through. And it's like, well, how is this working?
Well, it's like, for example, both Swiatek and Krejcikova won 2 matches. Swiatek beat Krejcikova, but Swiatek didn't qualify. It's the way it works, and I think it's good for 1 or 2 tournaments in a year. But I'm glad it's not a year-round thing.
Oh yeah, there would be real like unfairness things thrown at it. It's a bit like when it comes to how the Davis Cup group stages worked this year, where it was like, well, hang on a minute, this team won 2 matches. And I remember, I think it was GB last year. We won our match against Australia and I think it was the other one, Australia and Switzerland, I think it was. And they were both 2-1, 2-1, and you think, okay, we're probably qualified now. We've won 2 out of our 3 matches, but going into the France match, we needed to win it or we were out, and it was like, how has this happened?
I mean, I suppose the one thing you could say is we got that incredible moment out of it, but it was definitely up in the air until the end.
Yeah. That was still probably one of the best sort of nights of tennis to be able to watch. Was that like final doubles match against France? That was immense.
Yeah. But because I was talking to Vanch about it the other day, and like how we were discussing whether we think the first, obviously you got the matches won, but then should it be head to head or should it be sets? And we kind of. I think we kind of disagreed. I think he was more on the set side, whereas I was more thinking head-to-head should come first. But it's just interesting to see the different views.
Yeah, it's because they do head-to-head in the group stages for like the Euros and the World Cup, don't they? Which I do think. Yeah, and then you think, oh, you beat a team really well. I would generally side on sets. I'll probably go with Vanch on sets, just because it seems the fairest. Like if you beat someone in straight sets, then that should count more than beating somebody in 3.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And obviously, Dave pointed out in the chat about Iga Swiatek didn't even realise that her match didn't matter, and that did surprise me as well. It's just definitely an interesting thing because obviously so many players are used to if they win they're through, if they lose they're out, but this just throws up a whole different dynamic.
But then the big question is, if we didn't have that format, this tournament would effectively only be 4 days long and wouldn't feel as significant, and then the week-long event it is where you at least guaranteed to these players that they're going to play at least 3 matches.
Yeah, definitely.
And on the T30 all at the moment. Oh, Viper cross court goes for the slice. Fritz just gets to it. Just goes long again. He's slow to the ball. I will say that one thing for Fritz is that he just seems as though it's taking him a split second too long to start moving when Medvedev does a drop shot.
I'm just waiting to see this point now. Fritz is doing the serve.
All right, just answer John. Unfortunately, I'm back at work tomorrow, John, so I can't do any matches tomorrow.
Yes, I'm also unavailable tomorrow. I think probably Thursday will be my best bet to go again. Yeah, I agree with you there on that point. Fritz was definitely a bit. He just Medvedev's, as much as the double fault's been an issue, the drop shot has been a real strength of his today, and maybe that is because Fritz is that one step too slow. Just to add to our producer again in the chat, I prefer probably the earlier of the two matches.
You're like me, Matt. Early birds.
Yeah, well, early-ish. I know they're generally not too bad. Usually about 1 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, they're not bad 1 o'clock matches. I do prefer the format that the ATP have in terms of doubles then singles, doubles then singles.
Yeah, it's like more of a 2 split sessions, whereas the WTA finals are kind of just like a continuous.
Yeah, it's this weird sort of like doubles then singles, singles, doubles, and then that doubles at the end nobody really cares about. Whereas it's almost a great appetizer or like, sorbet almost for each session to start with the doubles, get yourself into it, and then have the big main course, which is then the singles match.
Yeah, because as much as you could argue that you put in the doubles on last, given the big final match, realistically the crowd will not stay after a singles match, and unfortunately they end up getting quite a poor attendance.
Because of the drop shot and out. That one is just out. So Fritz here with advantage.
It's interesting though.
I'm also a big fan of the fact that they've actually brought the time forward by half an hour for the night session, for the night sessions this week.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it was a night. I think it started. I remember it started at 9 o'clock local time last year, and so that was 8 o'clock UK time, which is still fairly quite late to probably just potentially start a tennis match, at least to have people continue all the way through it during the week. But it's 7:30 UK time, 8:30 Italian time, which I guess the Italian audiences usually stay up a bit later anyway. But I'm like, that's just good tweaks as they're going along. Good tweaks in timings. And a very happy DJ.
Yeah, I noticed him earlier. But it's always interesting because the WTA have often got players in both the singles and doubles. The finals, like Paolini this year, they've had the previous years they've had Goff and Pegula. But in ATP, I don't know, has it ever been done? Does it ever? It's very rare.
Oh, I think the last time there was I think it would have been Jack Sock in 2017, wouldn't it? Would be the last time that somebody was in both the singles and the doubles at the same time in the ATP. I mean, I know we've had singles players who, with doubles partners, have got themselves to the tour finals. I mean, we got Purcell and Thompson, who are mainly singles players who work really well together in the doubles. And then I remember, what was it, a couple of years ago when was it last year when Hijikata and Kubler, that they got to their singles players and they got to Turin because they won the Australian Open, and then the year before that it was Kyrgios and Kokkinakis.
Yeah. It's just an interesting dynamic, but the doubles is definitely more of a specialist thing on the ATP tour.
Yeah, it's very hard to find. Yeah, it's a much rarer person to find is a tennis player in the men's tour that's happy to do both singles and doubles. It's much more of a common thread on the women's tour.
Yeah,
which is actually a bit bizarre because in one way, the physicality of the men's singles game or the men's doubles game is less than the physicality of the women's one, because the women's one in their matches, the average rally lengths are significantly higher, and generally the time spent on court in women's doubles is also on average more than in men's doubles. So in a way, you would kind of think it would be the opposite way around, that actually a lot of women would kind of go, do you know what, I'm not going to risk getting drawn into a 2+ hour doubles match, on my off day or during the same day as I'm doing the singles one. Whereas in the men, they know that unless it's an absolute epic, it's not going to go beyond an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's definitely less of a spectator sport, men's doubles, but it can, like we mentioned earlier, it can have those great matches like at the Davis Cup.
And just to answer John, doubles final Saturday or Sunday. It is Sunday, so it is just before the singles final. So they'll do on Saturday. It'll be the semi-finals for both the doubles and the singles, and then the Sunday will be the final for both. Out by Medvedev, a little bit of a half chance here for Fritz. Oh yeah, John, if you want to as well, pencil me in, just pencil at this stage, and I'll confirm later on that for the first day, for the first singles match on the Friday. I mean, if he's there or not is another matter.
I was going to say, but whether he heard that, I can't actually see him in our shot. The thought was there.
The thought was there. And Jane pointing out Fritz's movement has never been great, which I do agree, but he has got 2 breakpoint chances on my screen. Now 1 breakpoint chance. Okay, it goes cross court, up in the air by Fritz. Medvedev should be a simple smash, smashes it down, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, onto juice. So 2 breakpoint chances there for Fritz, both of them snuffed out.
No signs of any double faults so far though for Medvedev, but I've definitely probably jinxed him now, but 7 in the first set.
Cross court forehand. Is that out? Yeah, it was out. I'll tell you what, one thing I am liking, and I don't know, you probably talked about it in the first set, is that on the Lavazza A on the umpire's chair, it flashes when the ball, it flashes out when the ball gets called out.
Do you know what? I have not noticed that, but I'm going to keep.
I just noticed it at the beginning of the contest, and I was like, "That's fantastic!" Because if you're like me at the moment, the only sound I'm hearing is your voice, Matt.
Yeah.
I've got the match on silent. I can see by looking at the Lavazza chair if the ball was called out or in. As a visual clue.
I've just noticed it. Yeah, that's actually a very good feature, especially for us, like you say, with no sound.
And there's plenty of times, during like the normal tennis weeks where, say, I'm doing some marking or creating some lessons or whatnot at home. I have the tennis on in the background, but I have it on silent, and I look up and I don't know if the ball's gone in or out, and I'm just waiting for players' reaction. And one of the good things that we usually had with the line umpires at the back of the court was that I could look at them and see where their hands are pointing if it was called in or out. Whereas with just Hawkeye without the lines judges, you have no idea. You're just judging it on players' reaction or what happens to the scoreboard.
Yeah, I like to think that they designed that chair with us in mind. That's what I'm going to claim.
Down the tee, forehand cross the court, down the tee by Medvedev. He's certainly looking a bit better this set at the moment, Medvedev. But 15-all.
And I think he'll be particularly pleased with the way he recomposed a hold in that game, saving 2 break points.
He's obviously feeling a little bit more comfortable, at least in this set.
Yeah.
As you say, I mean, he's still got the. I mean, he probably loves this court because of how far back he can stand.
Yeah.
It is comical how far back in the court Medvedev loves to stand to receive the serve.
I mean, you've already seen it, but that actually was he's not known for his volleying prowess, but that was a really nice volley from him.
Good.
And he has been approaching the net a lot more today.
Yeah, that was a venomous change in direction there from Fritz to hit the forehand, or attempted when it did bounce off Medvedev's racket, but he didn't get it. But it went nowhere. So that is 30-15. At least Fritz is looking to hold, at least find a way to make this service hold a little bit easier than it was in the last couple of service games. Goes down the tee, forehand long, cross court, down the line, backhand cross court, going for the backhand. They're very much going the backhand exchanges, these two. Up the line, Fritz, the conductor. Just deciding where he is sending that ball every single shot. Up in the air, goes, or tries to go across court, it just bounces off the racket. What do you think of the fact of Fritz's hair color going back to black?
I think it was a wise decision, is my take. Especially as his only match with the blonde hair did not go his way.
Well, he had, what was it, 2 matches with the blonde hair and both were losses. Because he also played the doubles with Shelton and they lost that one. So, yeah.
Singles.
And so the only time, the one thing Jack Draper can always have against Taylor Fritz is that, you know, like peroxide blonde or bleach blonde Fritz was only ever beaten by a certain Jack Draper in singles.
I've just noticed our producer is back. If you wanted to inform him again.
Okay, so John, just to keep you updated, so we're saying that the doubles final takes place on Sunday, along with the singles final, and pencil me in very lightly at this stage, but I should be able to confirm for the first match on Friday. There we go. I could be John's PA. Remembering all the.
Yeah, Jane hair change is always risky because when you go out and change that strong, people are always going to associate any change of form with that hair color.
Yeah. Well, like they always made what was it? They always made comment about post-puke Sinner after he was sick in the Beijing bucket.
Yeah.
And then he got on a great run of form. You're going to get Brock, bleach blonde Taylor. Super saying he didn't even tell his girlfriend Morgan Riddle that he was bleaching his hair. I imagine she insisted that he go back to the original color. She can't be seeing somebody sporting that dude.
It was definitely a choice from him.
I love the fact, I watched the little video that the ATP did where they asked him some questions about the hair and why he changed back, and he said, "Well, I didn't realize how much maintenance there were."
Yeah, I think there's a lot.
And then because there'll be special like shampoos and whatnot. You have to constantly keep putting in there, and otherwise, as you say, the color starts to drain a bit, and then it went yellow, and then his roots started to come through, so that started to look a bit bizarre.
I love how we just both decided to just ignore what was on the screen and ignored John's attempt to try and coerce this into a response about the football. There it is again. I mean, in fairness, I'm not going to be mad because I am not a Leicester fan in the slightest.
Oh, Bruno. Excellent. It's not on normal TV, is it? No, it's not on normal TV. I think it's on German TV, but it isn't on UK TV. So John can watch it and I can't. This is bizarre to say. I live in the country that it's taking place in. Cross court, forehand cross court by Medvedev, but that is out. So that is now 30 all. So bit of danger time again. Stranger danger for, well, not so much of a stranger this time around for Medvedev, but he's been in this danger a fair few times.
I wouldn't say I was a redhead. I didn't think I was. No,
red.
I'm a brunette as such.
Yeah, it looks the same colour as Luke Littler. So I'd say certainly brunette.
I was a blonde baby, but I felt like that's pretty normal.
Yeah, I was blonde when I was younger as well. Now it's a sort of like dirty brown, or sort of like dirty blonde, browny sort of colour. Whenever I try and grow out facial hair, that always comes out though blonde.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Cross court, Go on, Taylor. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? He's stretching Medvedev around the place. Goes cross court. Up the line by Fritz. Cross court by Taylor. Backhand by Fritz. Backhand by Fritz again. Backhand by Medvedev. Backhand by Fritz. Really going at each other, these two, with the backhand exchanges. But the backhand breaks down Medvedev. And that gives Taylor another break. I say another break point, but a break point of this service game, but the third one of the set. There is a real opportunity here for the American to steal a quite decisive march in this set, and potentially even the match. So Medvedev goes down the tee, forehand by Taylor, backhand by Medvedev, up lob by Taylor. It lands. It lands in. It lands in, and the racket is gone from Medvedev. He went for the lob, which hasn't been working all match anyway, to be honest. And the one time he needed it to work, it does. And Medvedev is pissed.
It's interesting because I feel like Medvedev is associated with longer rallies, but it's Fritz who's been, like, even in the first set, he was coming out on top of those long rallies and has been very patient. And Medvedev's frustration is very clear to see, and it does look.
He's also got a point penalty in the process.
Dear. Oh dear!
He keeps lobbing the racket in the air. What is he trying to do here?
Fritz is very on his way
doing?
now.
Crikey. I think Medvedev's doing his best to get disqualified. Out there. He's lobbing it in the air again.
Oh dear.
He keeps lobbing his racket in the air. What's he doing? He keeps lobbing it on the ground and pretending that he can't catch it and hold it. I think mentally Medvedev's gone here. Fritz, perfect. He's lobbing it again. He's lobbing the racket in the air again. He's asking for it. 40 love at the moment. He's trying to catch it behind. It just is mentally completely gone here. Oh, he's got it. He's trying to turn it back, serving backwards. He's turned the racket upside down, a bit like Bublik. Oh, this is brilliant, but this is also bizarre.
Oh dear.
Is he really going to try and return serve like that? I think he is. So Fritz, ball in the air, goes down the tee. Medvedev turns it around just in time. Backhand by Fritz. Taylor, out it goes. 5-2. What is Daniil going to do? Just going to his chair normally at the moment. I'm sorry about this, Matt. I'm just trying to describe everything that's happening because this is just nuts.
No, I'm enjoying just watching it. It's I mean, it's definitely entertaining, is how I word it. But it's not a good sign for a first match in a round robin that you're this checked out.
Yeah, he is wound.
And I think Fritz is almost, I'd be in disbelief if he doesn't go on to win this now.
Is he going to retire? He's asking something from the ball kids, but he's saying he'll retire.
It's just crazy because this second set really felt like it was in the balance, and it's so quickly just gone from pretty tight, could go either way, to now like this.
Yeah, this is where him mentally he's just collapsed. Like this is. Like as you say, this is the first round of the first match, the first day. You got two other matches after this.
Yeah, one of those against the world number one, who you've got a pretty bad record against recently.
Yeah, that you cannot beat, and who probably is going to train wreck you. But no, it's. I mean, I think this isn't just the issue with the match today. I think this is like everything in this season that is now the pressure of, and I've said it on the stream with John, I think a couple of days ago. I think that Medvedev next year is in real danger of potential of losing where he is in the rankings and really falling off.
Yeah, he definitely feels like
and,
less
and
of a
maybe,
factor.
and maybe all those pressures that he's feeling of the fact that I'm not getting better, I'm actually getting beaten a lot by a lot of people. I'm not in the position I was in the rankings as I ever was before, or people's perception of me. All that pressure is now starting to tell in how he's acting.
Well, I always felt like he was kind of the disruptor.
Goes forward, goes for the lob. Medvedev goes for a backhand, and it's a wild backhand. You can tell he just did that just because for the hell of it. I know what you mean, yeah, disruptor, but at the moment, people are disrupting him.
Exactly, that's the point. It's kind of like he has become the opposite of what he used to be.
Down the tee, forehand by Fritz, forehand by Medvedev, backhand cross court by Fritz. So just gets over Medvedev, then goes cross court again. Taylor can't just about reach that, so it's 15-all. So 15-all, so it's not. Well, I think the crowd are expecting maybe a little bit more from Medvedev and certainly this match than just an hour and 16 on the clock at the moment. Tries to go up the line from Fritz, but he just goes into the tram line. So that was a good serve from Medvedev. But at the moment, Medvedev certainly is putting in a good serving performance in this service game. But it's almost like this is sort of your classic sort of small margins, really. You know, one break in the first, one break in the second, and it may be a case of well, thank you very much, says Taylor.
Well, that break in theory was 2 games because the following hold from Fritz didn't even feel like a game. It just sort of felt like an exhibition. It just went by so fast, and it didn't really feel like an actual competition.
No, and Fritz has just hit a brilliant backhand winner there to make it 30-all. So we could be 2 points away from Fritz taking a very decisive and potentially group stage qualifying worthy win earlier on in this tournament. I mean, the big question is really if he's feeling frustrated against Taylor Fritz, who is known for making mistakes, what the hell is he going to do against De Minaur, who will just get everything back to him?
Yeah. It looks like a
forehand into the net there by Medvedev, now to Juice.
It's a huge uphill battle.
Tiala from Madila. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but we'll scratch over that. This is entertaining. Not going to lie, it certainly is entertaining. Everyone loves a bit of drama. Second serve here for Fritz to look at. Up the line by Fritz. Backhand by Medvedev. Up the line attempt by Fritz. Goes long. So advantage Medvedev. Now, this is potentially a bit where Fritz could start to feel a little bit nervous. He's never beaten Medvedev before. First match, first day at the ATP Tour Finals. Yes, he did make the semi-finals a couple of years ago, but it's still a big ask to get your first match on the board here. As Medvedev holds his head at least in this match in this service game. Never mind, just be able to hold serve. And now ask the question to Taylor Fritz to serve it out and to claim the first victory of the singles competition at the Tour Finals. Goes down the tee from Fritz, backhand by Medvedev. Fritz goes cross court, backhand by Medvedev. Fritz up the line, all goes, and just a wild forehand by Medvedev into the tram lines, makes it 15-love. Oh, yeah, apologies, Matt, if I'm a bit too descriptive.
No, that's cool. I mean, I think it makes sense given that you're ahead of me.
So Taylor goes down the tee. Perfect ace down the tee. Straight as a pencil.
Yeah, it just feels like the way Fritz is playing and serving, he's too strong to let this get to him now.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I predicted as again another ace from Fritz. We have 3 match points to pick up 200 ATP points and a commanding 2-0 sets lead on the table. Ball in the air, goes cross court, backhand by Medvedev, volley by Fritz, ball in the air though by Medvedev, and it goes long. And hey presto, Taylor Fritz has taken victory against Daniil Medvedev 6-4, 6-3 in under an hour and 20 minutes. So a pretty quick match for, certainly would say a very quick match actually for the first match of the day. And that really puts Taylor in a great position to look to qualify from this group.
Yeah, I mean, I think a win regardless was big for either of these players, but to win in straight sets is like another level. I mean, we saw, like I mentioned earlier, Swiatek lost a match in straight sets, and that was basically her out. Or it put her in a very difficult position to qualify despite winning 2 matches. And Medvedev has still got to play the 1-1, and he knows he has to beat him really to have a chance. Whereas Fritz has now he's already got that win in the bag. He's got the straight sets win in the bag. He's got de Minaur. I don't know what his head-to-head with de Minaur is, but he's got to fancy his chances.
No, I think de Minaur has a positive head-to-head record against him. Was my memory, or say a positive, but the last time they played, de Minaur did beat him. I think that was at United Cup at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
that was at the United Cup at the beginning of the year. And I would certainly say going into that match, I would favour Fritz just because the form that Fritz is showing at the second half of the season is really, really strong. And you would certainly say that he should be able to then get past the de Minaur, who probably will play a lot better than what's happening at the moment, or certainly what he got with Medvedev. Sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say, you've got to factor in that maybe, like you said earlier, the winners will play each other and the losers play each other in the next match. If de Minaur, like we expect him to lose to Sinner today, if de Minaur then beats Medvedev, they're in a position where de Minaur is playing Fritz, realistically with a winner probably going through. So it could be very, very interesting. I think this group feels like it's more up for grabs than the other group, perhaps.
Do you think it's up to grabs in terms of all the places, or do you think it's up to grabs in terms of that second place?
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I feel like it's Sinner and then the rest, whereas the other group feels like Zverev and Alcaraz, and then separate from Rublev and Ruud. That's kind of how I see it.
No, I tend to agree that in terms of, as we kind of said midstream, this match, the match that'll be between de Minaur and Medvedev, and the match between de Minaur and Fritz, they're going to be that almost feels going into it as the more competitive, interesting contests. It kind of feels certainly with Sinner and just the form that Sinner's in. I know I had an illness in Paris. I mean, he didn't play, but we fully expect with the Turin crowd, Northern Italy crowd, the part of Italy that he's from, that he should win all 3 matches in his group, and he should win them effectively, comfortably. Like, I'd be very surprised if, even if any of these players could take a set off Sinner, just how well Sinner's playing at the moment. That, as you say, this match could be very key. Medvedev does not want to be going not only a loss down, but then also a two sets, negative, negative sets record already, because this now really means that he has to beat de Minaur and has to beat him in straights, and he now needs to. You probably would say at this stage he needs to get a result against Sinner, and I just don't see that happening. It feels weird to say, bizarrely, but you could probably say that Medvedev is already out of contention to even qualify for the groups for the knockout stages, just given the poor result here. I don't know what you think about that.
It's definitely looking unlikely, given that he's still got to play Sinner and has lost in straight sets. I mean, he only hit 1 double fault in that second set, but the 7 in the first set cost him so much. Then the second set, there was all that thing with just his kind of meltdown after getting broken. It felt like that's where the match really just unraveled. And like, as we see there, our first serve points were from Fritz, 85%, whereas Medvedev only won 27% of his second serve points. It's kind of just, these are the margins. And I felt like Fritz, although it felt like we're talking a lot more about Medvedev and his poor performance, and I think that is definitely relevant, I think Fritz was also very solid. I think he played the longer rallies very well. I think he was very patient. And yeah, it's definitely kind of...
it very much feels as well. Potentially, moments were also quite key. That moment at the back end of the first set for Fritz to be able to get the break and get the set. That was the first key moment. But then from the flip side, those first two service games on the Fritz serve at the beginning of the second, when Medvedev had breakpoint chances and couldn't take any of them, and he got into rallies with those ones as well. Like, it wasn't as though Fritz just served aces or unreturnables to get out of those situations. He was in points. He was in the points in those breakpoint chances and couldn't take them. And there's the classic thing we usually see in most sets is that if a player doesn't take their opportunities on their opponent's serve, their own serve ends up being broken, or they get to a tiebreaker and they just end up falling apart. And that happened here. It's a sliding doors moments. What if Medvedev was able to get those breakpoints in earlier on? If he was able to get those breakpoints earlier on, you probably could say that this would probably have gone to a third set and it would have been much more competitive.
Yeah, I actually did think it was going to a third set, but like you say, Medvedev did take those breakpoints. Fritz, I feel like, played those breakpoints down very well and then took his own chance, and that was kind of it from that point, like you say. And yeah, it's just a big opening match for both players for very different reasons.
And as I think something that we pointed out during the match as well, those extended rallies, those +9 shots, majority of them being won by Fritz. Yet going into this match, you would have expected Medvedev to have been the main victor when the points extend beyond 9 shots. That is, again, full credit to Taylor for being able to being able to produce that and to be able to bring that level in those long extended rallies. But as you say, it's just there's so much happening with Medvedev in terms of form, in terms of where the general question of what is his relevance going to be in the tennis world going into next year. That all that played out in a performance from Medvedev, as you say, loads of double faults in the first set, tidied it up a bit in the second, but then when he went a breakdown in the second, mentally just checked out. There are a lot of troubling signs to, it's almost as if we're reading the tea leaves for next year, right now in Turin. But these are the players that he usually beats. A year ago, 2 years ago, you would have had Medvedev beaten Fritz. Now it's the complete polar opposite. As I said, my prediction, I don't have him winning a single match this week, and it very much feels like that's about to happen almost.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I do think he'll play all the matches. I think that will happen because obviously there's been some questions about his shoulder injuries and would he withdraw. I don't think so. I think, to be honest, it was more just frustration today. But
I mean, I could see him potentially if he loses to Sinner, because it depends if he plays, because most likely, and we'll go on to just do a quick preview in a bit. But if he loses to Dimitrov, you could see him just saying, "I'm not going to take a battering from Sinner. I'm just going to check out here and let Grigor Dimitrov play him."
Yeah, because really, will he want to be playing Sinner, let alone again? But realistically, when he's already lost 2 matches and is probably going to lose again, it's not going to be what he wants to end this season.
No, I think Tuesday morning, because he'll be in the day session. The Tuesday day match is going to be critical for Medvedev. If he manages to get a win there, he'll then have an attempt against Sinner. But if he loses it, I fully expect him just to say, "See ya, I'm done," and I'll just go back to Monte Carlo and just lick my wounds and see you in Australia. Which will be a fun one. So, okay, but as we're just saying, so we'll move on to from this match to previewing the match coming up, which is going to be Dimitrov versus Sinner. So, and as pointed out just there, or just that way, Medvedev, of course, has not won a title this year, and it looks as though he won't be winning a title at all this year, which is such a big surprise. The last title he won was back in Rome in 2023. Which was which was on the clay court, which is such a surprise when it happened anyway. They were talking about as well on the commentary just before that in 2023 he had that mad hard court run where he won Rotterdam, Doha, Dubai, and then India, and then Miami, all in that sort of like 2-month window. We're not seeing a similar form to that at all. Unless Medvedev decides next year to drop down to some 250s, I see it seems very difficult for him to be able to even pick up any titles, it feels like.
Yeah, I think the problem is he just keeps running into the players that, quite frankly, are now better than him and are consistently beating him. And then there's also weeks where he is getting caught out by, players who are kind of around his ranking, maybe a bit, or having a good week. And it just kind of feels like Medvedev has gone from being the challenger, the real disruptor, as we mentioned earlier, to being the disrupted and kind of the one who is there to be challenged and can be vulnerable. It's a real, and I think that even mentally that must be quite difficult to go from different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're if you're a player, if you're a player who feels you're in good form, you could have a deep run at certainly, a deep run at a tournament. You pray that you get put in a Medvedev quarter because you feel as though you've got a chance to really take it to him to get that deep run.
Yeah, 100%. Dave's asked in the chat about, is he the only player in this tournament not to win a title? And I think he is.
Yeah, because de Minaur's got a couple of titles. Ruud's got a couple of clay court titles. Rublev's got 2 titles, one on clay, one in Hong Kong. And then, of course, Sinner, Alcaraz, Zverev. Who else am I missing? I think I've said them all. Yeah, I think he is the only player. Fritz has got Del Rey and Eastbourne on his resume.
Yeah.
So he is the only player here this year that has not won a title.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. So we're just saying, just to move on from that, like we said, to as I say, to de Minaur versus Sinner. So do you think de Minaur could win a set at all tonight?
I don't think it'll be like a demolition job, but I could see like a close first set and then a more comfortable second, kind of like a 7-5, 6-2 situation. Because I just think de Minaur is a very good player. He's got a good serve, big serve, so it works on the indoor hard court. But I just think Sinner's got too much, and I think with the crowd as well, I think I can't see it going any other way but a straight sets win for Sinner.
No, I tend to agree. I mean, of course, I think from a tennis and from a competitive standpoint, we would love it to go to 3, but love it to be tight sets, and we'd really love to see a really strong Alex de Minaur performance. The issue is that he's playing the hard court juggernaut this year. That is Jannik Sinner, who he sees a hard court tournament, he goes to a hard court tournament, he hopefully doesn't get an illness, and he wins it. And that rinse and repeat pretty much for the entire season when it comes to Jannik. When it comes to Jannik Sinner, as we've got a quote on the board here. So Alex de Minaur's ethos is to never be satisfied as he strides towards the top and ahead of the ATP Tour Finals debut in Turin. Former Davis Cup teammate John Millman is delighted to be delighted by the cut through the #Demon is achieving in Australia. He certainly is. It seems, certainly with that new Alex de Minaur junior program which he announced last week. It very much feels like the Australian audiences are really taking to Alex and his successes this year, which is fantastic. But yeah, like we're saying, I'd expect Sinner to win. I'd expect him to win potentially in straight sets. We'd hope it'd be a competitive match, just because these tickets are very expensive for Turin, and I'm sure the crowd want to get their money's worth. Unfortunately, the day crowd today, although they had a good, they've had 2 matches, both have been straight sets and both have been fairly quick. So I guess the fact that the experience of going there is something they'll be able to take away.
Well, at least Medvedev gave them a bit of some form of pantomime to watch towards the end of the second set.
It certainly has. It certainly has when he's turning his racket around the other way and getting point penalties and whatnot.
Yeah.
So very much feels as though our build up is. I mean, what do you think Sinner? Sorry, let's rephrase this. So, what do you think de Minaur needs to do to try and disrupt Sinner?
I mean, I think variety is always, for any opponent, it's a good way to just kind of almost to throw your opponent off. But I think, like our producer said in the chat, Sinner basically does everything that de Minaur does better. They're kind of similar, they have similar-ish styles. So I think de Minaur, the best thing to do is just to use a bit of variety. I think he's not a bad net player. He's played a bit of doubles, so I think he's just got to throw a few unusual things in the way and just mix things up.
So you're saying bring that variety, and that maybe because we remember we had this. This is almost a repeat of the Rotterdam final from the beginning of the year, and that was on an indoor hard. And although Daniil was able to be semi-competitive throughout, as you say, it was that tight first set, followed by more of a straightforward second set. But as you say, if he brings a little bit of momentum, also a little bit of variety, probably would have to have a very high first serve percentage, you would say, to be able to stay within the match. That may give Daniil a chance. I'm sure Daniil fans and Australian fans out there will be hoping that he can pull off the upset tonight. But I think we are saying that on the balance of probabilities, we would fancy 9 times out of 10 the man on our picture just above, the ginger guy, to beat the guy in the orange top. Is how we would certainly say it. I'll tell you what, I will say Rotterdam Trophy. It is an all right trophy. It's although it's mainly glass, and I don't really like mainly glass type trophies. I do think it looks pretty neat the way they put it together, or they did this year.
Yeah. I like a unique trophy.
A unique trophy. So we'll call it here. So everyone can head off and whatnot. And well, I think we've got somebody on for this match later on this evening, but we'll have plenty of coverage of as many of these different matches. Next up, WTA Weekly. That's what's going to pop up next. So in an hour, so get ready for seeing Nick talking about Coco Gauff and her exceptional win yesterday.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.